Travis Wayne Goodsell. We got breaking news, national news today that ties directly with the Book of Mormon prophecies. Alma, chapter 51. Nevertheless, start in verse 2. They did not long maintain an entire peace in the land, for there began to be a contention among the people concerning the chief judge Pehoran. For behold, there were a part of the people who desired that a few particular points of the law should be altered. But behold, Pehoran would not alter, nor suffer the law to be altered. Therefore he did not hearken to those who had sent in their voices with their petitions concerning the altering of the law. Therefore those who were desirous that the law should be altered were angry with him, and desiring that he should no longer be chief judge over the land. Therefore there arose a warm dispute concerning the matter, but not unto bloodshed. And it came to pass that those who were desirous that Pehoran should be dethroned from the judgment seat were called king men, for they were desirous that the law should be altered in a manner to overthrow the free government and to establish a king over the land. Nephi, chapter 7. Now behold, I will show unto you that they did not establish a king over the land, but in this same year, yea, the 13th year, they did destroy upon the judgment seat, yea, did murder the chief judge of the land. And the people were divided one against another, and they did separate one from another into tribes, every man according to his family and his kindred and friends, and thus they did destroy the government of the land. And every tribe did appoint a chief or a leader over them, and thus they became tribes and leaders of tribes. Now behold, there was no man among them, save he had much family and many kindreds and friends. Therefore their tribes became exceedingly great. Now all this was done, and there were no wars as yet among them. And all this iniquity had come upon the people, because they did yield themselves unto the power of Satan. And the regulations of the government were destroyed, because of the secret combination of friends and kindreds of those who murdered Joseph Smith and Hiram Smith. And they did cause a great contention in the land, insomuch that the more righteous part of the people had nearly all become wicked. Yea, there were but few righteous men among them. And thus 6 years had not passed away since the more part of the people had turned from their righteousness, like the dog to his vomit, or like the sow to her wallowing in the mire. Men are dogs and women are pigs. I'm curious to know what the Hebrew grammatical termination would be. Now this secret combination, which had brought so great wicked iniquity upon the people, did gather themselves together, and did place at their head a man, whom they did call Jacob, usurper in Hebrew. Thus the reason for wanting no dog. And they did call him their king. Therefore he became a king over this wicked band, and he was one of the chiefest who had given his voice against the prophets who testified of the Jewish Christ. And it came to pass that they were not so strong in number as the tribes of the people who were united together, save it were their leaders did establish their laws, every one according to his tribe. Nevertheless, they were enemies, notwithstanding they were not a righteous people. They were united in the hatred of those who had entered into a covenant to destroy the government. Today, the United States Supreme Court overthrew the 14th Amendment, Section 3. Our government failed to apply Section 4 back when we had the debt crisis. Wasn't that last year, or was it 22? And the overthrowing of Roe v. Wade is the first section. The 14th Amendment now has lost the third section. And if you're wondering how Roe v. Wade applies to the 14th Amendment, Section 1, you've probably never read it. Because a woman no longer has rights. The fetus has more rights than the woman. An embryo in Alabama has more rights than the woman. An embryo and a fetus are not born. They're still in the womb. But there are a group of people who got the Supreme Court and the court in Alabama to overthrow the meaning of what it is to be born. And so, the 14th Amendment, Section 1, says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. And thus no state shall make or enforce any law, which shall abridge the privileges or immunity of citizens. And who are citizens again? Those who are born or naturalized. By giving the rights to a fetus and an embryo, the woman no longer has rights. This is a violation of the 14th Amendment. It's very clear you don't need to be a lawyer. You just need to know English. And so, what happened today, no person, Section 3, shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress, which the Constitution says that oath is to the Constitution. And so any office includes the Supreme Court, or as an officer of the United States, or as a member of any state legislature, or as an executive or judicial officer of any state, to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Our government has been overthrown. They are not following the Constitution, and they have altered it. It is very clear. The Constitution that Joseph Smith said would be on the brink of ruin, which you had heard through rumors that it was hanging by a thread, is now. Joseph Smith, prophet, seer, revelator, and translator. So who is this enemy that has done this? Who is behind the strings? Well, you've heard in the news. There's that guy hooking the Supreme Court up with a billionaire or two or three or four. You've seen my videos where I showed that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Apostles are cohabitating with Supreme Court justices and members of Congress. You've heard my videos as you saw the conferences yourself. Russell Marion Nelson gets up and says a major city yet to be determined in Russia and Shanghai and other enemy nations to America. He has met with government leaders and religious leaders who are our enemy. And thus they paid with your money the Judas price to overthrow the government. They paid for the war in Ukraine. They paid for the war against Israel. And the time will come, Mormons, that you will have to give up the Book of Mormon, that you will have to give up your membership in the church, or they will murder you. The church paid the Judas price to overthrow the government. The Council for National Policy, with Mark Skousen as the current representative of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, previously his father, W. Cleon Skousen, specifically designed to overthrow the American government and alter the Constitution and the laws thereof. It is this membership that overthrew the 2016 election with Russian interference. It is this group that overturned Roe v. Wade. It is this group that got the amendment and the Respect for Marriage Act, so that it's now the Disrespect for Marriage Act. You'll note that in the state of Utah, just yesterday, or actually it was back on Friday when they ended their session, our legislature had passed a bill banning pride flags. Yeah, you thought they were supporting you, didn't you? You didn't listen. You thought you knew better. You thought you were building bridges. Thought you were getting accepted. And here it comes. World War II, Nazi Germany all over again. It's going to get much worse, people. Trump can now run for president. His cases are being delayed. He's going to run for president. Have you not been listening to the threats he's been making? Have you not been listening to others and what they want to have done to America? The national divorce? Gee, that sounds a lot like dividing up into tribes, dividing up into states. Those who are for Trump and those who are for Biden, and those who are undecided and want somebody else completely. America has fallen. We will not have a legitimate election this year. If it looks like Biden is winning, those who voted for Trump will say it's rigged. They will seek to overthrow it again. They will seek to decertify the election. There will be violence. States that vote for Trump will say that Trump is their legitimate president. They will not accept another president. They will not accept Biden as their president. And so it doesn't matter. The government has fallen, just as the Book of Mormon warned you it was going to do. And once Trump takes over, those MAGA states are going to implement every single abuse and torture and murder and bondage that they have been planning and plotting. If you are colored, you gotta leave America. If you're a deep state Dem in a MAGA state, you gotta flee for your life. If you're a female, better get used to getting raped. If you're LGBTQ, murdered if they aren't willing to take the time to electroshock therapy you. And those who are elderly and disabled, no more federal care. Gone. If you are incapable of working, they'll murder you. Lock you up. Make you a slave. Here in the state of Utah, we all know exactly what the church wants to do. I just showed you the book. They've been telling us exactly what they're going to do to you. You've not been paying attention to your covenant path. Law of obedience. Women are sex slaves to their husband. They have no voice. You will not get an education. You will not have a career. You will be home, barefoot, pregnant on a consistent, regular basis until you can't bear no more. And thus polygamy as well. Only for the leaders, not for the regular Mormon men. You have to be slaves. Law of sacrifice. You must allow the church to do this to you. You must sacrifice your life to protect and sustain the kingdom. Law of the gospel. You can't complain or murmur or protest. You can't speak evil of the prophets. That higher law thing that Nelson added, that's polygamy. And so the law of chastity, yeah, it's already the law of polygamy. You have been wicked. But it's only for the leaders who are worthy. If you're not a leader, you're not worthy. Oh, but if you keep working hard, just keep working harder, one day, just have faith, trust in the Lord. And since you don't get a wife, there's no need for certain appendages. Can't have you raping a righteous priesthood holder's wife. And then the law of consecration, slavery. Everything goes to the church. You get nothing except a meager subsistence to survive and continue to be a slave. All of this is in violation of the Book of Mormon. But you will be forced to deny the Book of Mormon, to deny Joseph Smith, and support the kingdom. What did you think Section 119 was in violation of the Book of Mormon? It's a forged Brigham Young Danite document. Section 115, wrong name of the church, forged document. Section 132, yeah, it's not polygamy, forged document. But you thought you knew better. You thought the church was true. And aren't you in for a rude awakening and a major faith crisis? The devil never supports his own. So, if there's a 9/11 event with, I don't know, Nelson threatened your lives 5 weeks in advance of Easter, and then came out with the church website design change for Easter, also threatening your lives, reminding you of the threat of the First Presidency Easter message. So they could be up to something sooner than later. But 8 April 2024 is the scriptural prophesied date of the end of the latter days, and thus the millennium. The church had been planning to make that April conference, this April conference, when they get their kingdom back. Dedicating the temple, Jesus suddenly coming to his temple, and getting coronated on his throne in his palace right next door, remodeled. But Nelson failed. Contractors are behind. It's another more 2 years before it'll be completed. But they still want their kingdom. They keep pushing their kingdom. They keep pushing religious freedom. The Relief Society president was just in the EU in the church news tonight, pushing for religious freedom for women. What religious freedom for women? To be a sex slave to their husband, uneducated, no career, no mission, just barefoot, pregnant, in the kitchen with your husband's harem. That's your religious freedom? Does she know that? And so, yeah, if America doesn't descend into civil war before the election, it will during the election. As people go to the ballots, thinking, oh, we're going to get abortion rights back. Paris just voted to have abortions as a legal right. And once America is completely fallen, with no federal government, it's a domino effect throughout the rest of the world. Putin will then go into Europe. He's already spreading the propaganda that Germany is threatening to physically attack Russia. He's provoking a fight again. But with no America, nobody's going to stop him this time. China, yeah, they want their Taiwan back. And apparently Australia too. I'm not sure what that was all about. And then India, been fighting with China. And then Pakistan and Afghanistan are going at it. And then Africa, always going at it. And then, yeah, oh no, Israel and Islam in the Middle East. Lest you forget. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was behind all of it. From the beginning, 200 years ago, as the Book of Mormon was written to warn you of their threat. So enjoy the rest of your life, however short it will be. You trusted false prophets and were deceived.